All right, this is Jim's from Jim's Arrows again. I'm going to address some things I've seen on some of the traditional bow hunter sites, supposed bow hunter sites. We've talked about you can't be more accurate than the equipment, or the equipment can't be more accurate than you. I see a lot of people talk, they get into traditional archery and they get frustrated and they think buying the best arrow or the best whatever, or which bow is better. A bow is a bow, and an arrow is pretty much an arrow. If you read a lot of Jay Massey, even Howard Hill, Glenn St. Charles, a wood arrow is, in my opinion, the best arrow. There's three main woods I use: Porterford cedar, Western larch, and ash. I really hunt with ash probably the most because it's a very heavy arrow. But we've talked about leaving behind, because I see a lot of people switching from compounds to traditional. And what they usually do is they try to bring all that compound misinformation with them. We talked about, and I'll just review a couple things. I'll put this down actually. A compound, for the most part, and a lot of these people shooting 3 fingers under are holding their bows straight up and down. Okay, I've talked about this before. I'll show it again. A lot of people have actually wrote me, said their shooting improved immediately. It's the push-pull method, meaning you're pushing. Now watch, I'm not even pulling back. I'm pushing with this hand, just slightly playing with this hand. Remember, and this is like Billy Creamer had said that his shooting improved, but he still has a problem with the arrow on the nock, and his shooting is inconsistent. We're going to really go over that probably the most today. So once again, split finger, the advantage is that if this isn't a quarter of a mouth, it really, the arrow doesn't change, okay? So when I'm hunting, a lot of times I'm like this, the arrow, the deer comes, and I just push forward, okay? But in general, it's a push-pull method. Now the advantage, where traditional bow has way advantage in the woods over a compound, is it can be shot from any direction. So a lot of times I'll be behind a stump or behind a tree. I can lean out. Now once again, notice I'm pushing. One of the things about, in bow hunting, is about getting close to the animal. It's not about how far you can shoot the animal. So if I'm accurate out to 30 yards, well, how about being accurate within 5 yards or 10 yards? I don't think I've ever taken a deer over 15 yards, and I've taken a deer under 1 yard. How did I take a deer under 1 yard? Because I wasn't doing all this weird gyration stuff. It's a smooth. There's no arrow, so I won't shoot the cameraman. Now I'm sitting there, you're a deer. See how little movement it is? Now let's look at what most people switching from compounds are doing. Okay, yeah, you're just not going to get so close to that deer. Now, going back to Billy Creamer, one of the things he mentioned is some days he can do no wrong, and some days he misses everything on the face of the earth. We're going to talk about perfect practice. Okay, a lot of people call it blind bale shooting these days. Perfect practice is what you're doing is you are practicing perfect form, nothing else. So you get a target like this, put it in your house, put it in your bedroom. Okay, every day when you wake up, all you're going to do is take 5, 10, 100 shots, depending on how much time you have. And you're not worrying about hitting the target. You're worrying about perfect form. You're getting that muscle memory of the shot. That's why it's called perfect practice. You are teaching your body what the perfect shot feels like. So I'm going to be right there next to the target. It's safe to do anywhere, because if you're missing that, you've got bigger problems. Okay? But all you're doing is drawing, anchoring, and releasing. Now, you'll see I hit the bullseye. I wasn't really aiming for the bullseye. I don't, you can even use a blank, anything that won't put an arrow on your wall. Don't worry about hitting anything. You're practicing the shot. So if you're having trouble hitting the target, you're being inconsistent, it's you. It's not the arrow. You don't need to go buy the GS6000 turbocharged or heat-seeking arrows. It's you, okay? So, if you're having consistency problems, what I would do, especially for your new archer, stop. Just stop what you're doing. Set up, and all you're practicing, some people even close their eyes. All you're practicing is getting the same form every time. So once again, push, pull, anchor, shoot. Oh my God, I hit the bullseye again. Just believe it or not, you can actually do that and walk back further and further. It keeps you on target. But another thing I want to show you is if you're going to do this, why don't you practice? And I just want to show you something real quick. Like I said, a compound is held out straight up and down. And a lot of new archers hold their bow straight and down. This is not an unnatural position. If you tell somebody to put out your hand, they don't go like this. Okay? They'll go like this. Look how natural that is. So you put out your hand, it's like this. So why aren't you shooting a bow like this? It's a natural position. Anything you're doing, holding, can get messed up during the shot. So you're shooting, if you're relaxing your arm, it might be canning as you're shooting the arrow. You don't want that. So why don't we learn how to shoot the bow with limbs? I was actually told by somebody on one of these that this, what I'm saying is impossible. So I'm going to show you the impossible. Okay? Why don't you practice coming to that anchor? See how the anchor is the exact same? No matter what direction I hold the bow, the anchor is the same. Now, like I said, if your arrow's coming off, it's because you're torquing. This is just a hook. Now watch my hand through the shot. Oh, let's do it this way. Well, no, I'm going to do it this way so you can see the hand better. See how my hand's straight? Another thing is, like Fred Asbell says, and I see a lot of things on the traditional bow hunter site, everybody's got an opinion, blah, blah, blah. I don't trust all these people, and I don't either. Everything I'm telling you, I'm just spewing Fred Asbell, Howard Hill, Fred Bear, Jay Massey. That's all I do. I spew this stuff from the greats. I have no original thoughts of my own. Okay? So this has worked for 100 or so years. I realize that a lot of new traditional bow hunters coming from the compound know more about archery than us old timers. Try this, okay? But like I said, bow parallel to the ground. Oh my God, and the bullseye just like the other ones. I don't know how that happened. Because it is not because any other reason that I was told on one of these sites that what I'm doing is impossible. It actually is very natural. To hold the bow like this is a very natural. If you look at Fred Bear, his bow is usually canted about that much. When he's shooting, it's not even slightly canted. It's canted like this. And the advantage also is swinging the bow. When an animal runs past you, and yes, I've taken deer on the run, so has Fred Bear, I actually tend to shoot better that way. It's a more fluid. Everything about this is more fluid. Even the push-pull method, I talked about being like a jab. In boxing, the reason a jab works is because of depth perception. It doesn't pick it up as quick. Okay? Now look at my hand. My hand's not like this. It's like this, in a jab. And all you're doing with this hand is pointing. Okay, as Fred Asbell says, upon the release, both hands do nothing. I see a lot of people when they shoot, how's my form? And they go like this. Okay, let's watch a shot one more time. And I'll quit boring you with this shit. By the way, these are arrows made by Jim's Arrows. Quite elegant, I believe. But watch both hands. Both hands did nothing. at the end of the shot. Shouldn't be flinging around. When a arrow is released, like I said, my hand's like this. All I'm doing is relaxing my fingers. I'm not pulling. I'm not releasing. I think a lot of this is where target panic comes from. Because target, here, I'll show you target panic. Target panic is when a person comes to full draw and then they get scared. It's a fear of missing, and they'll go like this. They'll put their hand forward, and they're trying to throw the arrow off their fingers. It is a very fluid motion. I'll show you what a normal shot. I don't hold a long time. Usually when I shoot, it's like this. You'll notice in the bullseye again. I'm just luckily hitting the bullseye. I'm not even aiming for a bullseye. But muscle memory is putting it there for me. But stay away from thinking about the bullseye. Just think about that release, okay? And that's about all I got for today. Other than, like I said, I love watching these traditional Boyer sites. And once again, I love people coming to the sport. Leave the baggage behind. A compound and a bow have nothing in common. They just have, you can argue with me all day long. The Webster's Dictionary of a bow is a piece of wood or similar material strung taut from end to end by a string. That's Webster's definition. The universal definition of a bow is any weapon that fires an arrow, unaided mechanically. A compound is not a bow. A compound is pulled back. A bow is drawn, okay? There's probably more pulling or drawing of the bow in this arm than there is this arm, okay? But I think another question Creamer had asked was, and he showed a slow motion video, and his arrow going to the right. That's usually a underspined arrow. If the arrow's underspined, go to the right. If it's overspined, usually it'll go to the left, it'll kick. And the reason is, and this is another thing with all these people, front and center, oh, it's gotta be so much front and center. Okay, the standard grain for a point has always been 125. I realize there are people out there trying to sell products and telling you need this front and center and blah, blah, blah. Just keep in mind, you change how arrow flies. I'm not saying what you guys are doing isn't working, but let's think about this. When you talk about arrow spine, the string is pushing on this end. Now, this end wants to defeat that end. It wants to kick out. It wants to go in a different direction because there's resistance on this end. So the more resistance you put in, the more archer's paradox you're going to have. Also meaning the arrow is going to take longer to stabilize. There's really nothing new, and I realize that once again I'm going to probably rattle a hornet's nest on this. There's really nothing new in archery. This has all been tried before. I understand there's new products and this and that. I'll put up my wood arrows against any carbon, aluminum crap that you got out there. If you're an Olympic archer, I understand at 80 yards, a quarter of an inch might matter. But as far as hunting, at 20 yards, I'll go head to head with anyone who wants to claim that the carbon or aluminum is better than wood. Probably the last thing I want to get at is, once again, I say this a lot of times, bow hunting was started by Glenn St. Charles with the help of Fred Bear. Glenn St. Charles wrote extensively why they went to traditional archery, and it was to get away from the technology taking over the sport. The biggest problem with people switching over, it doesn't hurt me, I'm just trying to help you out, is trying to buy accuracy. Well, I'm not shooting good groups, but if I get these new GS, I'm telling you something, at 10, 15, 20 yards, there's no difference. You're going to shoot the same. You might be a little bit more confident and shoot better. It could happen. But if you're not learning the fundamentals, you're always going to have problems. And I'll give you just one last example, and then I'll shut up. I don't golf. but I can hit a golf ball every time. I can hit it every time, every time. I can't tell you where that's going. Does that make me a golfer? No. I own a golf club. Does that make me a golfer? No. What would make me a golfer is the ability to hit a ball where I want it to go. Okay? So when you say, and a lot of people, oh, there's many ways to shoot a ball. No, not really. There's maybe a few. I mean, the Asiatic bow is shot a little bit different. Principles are the same. But there's really not a lot of ways. Somebody says there's no perfect way to shoot a bow. Well, that's like saying there's no perfect way to shoot a golf ball or to hit a golf ball. There is. There is a way to hit a golf ball. All professional golfers will have the same basics. Okay, there might be little intricacies, but in general, they're not trying to invent some new way to hit a golf ball. Once again, like I said, I can hit a golf ball. I don't know where it'll go. Now, if I go buy a $500 golf ball and a $1,000 club, am I going to hit that golf ball better? No. I'm not better than the equipment. So the most basic equipment, you can hit me any club, I'll hit the golf ball the same. Why? I'm not a golfer. But that's, it translates, I think that translates really well into archery. If you learn to hit the ball first, then worry about buying the expensive ball. Okay? That's all I got.